There's just something I really want to get off my chest really quickly, and that is when I was younger, when I was a kid, high school, middle school, I was always told that a 5-out offense would never work against a zone defense. And then later I got older and I became a coach, and every coach said the same thing. You cannot use a 5-out offense against a zone defense. And to me, that just made no sense, because one of the ways that you can beat a zone is by literally spreading out the zone. And what does a 5-out offense do? A 5-out offense spreads a zone. Why would you want to spread out a zone, though? And that's a good question that I had from another coach, which surprised me. And I was like 23 at the time, and I said, because you want to attack the gaps, and by attacking the gaps, you're collapsing them. And he said, well, then, but they were spread out. And I'm like, because now it's easier to attack the gaps, and you can collapse more players by the time you get into the paint, leaving more players open along the 3. And then I tried it. And then I tried it against a 2-3 zone, and it destroyed it. And then I tried it against a 3-2 zone, and it destroyed it. And I'm like, there's something here that a lot of coaches are not getting, and that's what I'm bringing to you today. Why do you want to use a 5-out against a zone? You always get told, use an overload. Use even a triangle type motion. Anything. Just don't use a 5-out. Well, I'm going to explain to you why you would want to and some of the different strategies that you can use. Okay, so we're down on the clipboard and we're going up against a 3-2 zone. We have 3 players up here and of course 2 players down in the bottom, and you have to really understand what their zones really do. So we have player 5 who is essentially there. These are their zones. I'm going to show you the couple of different ways that you can run this. So most teams will run a 2-3 zone, or a 3-2 zone, sorry, with the post players guarding that massive of a location. Now, really quickly, you want to have their locations as small as possible because, of course, they are going to be usually the slower players on the team. So these are the 2 different ways that coaches will run a 3-2. Meanwhile, if their zones in the post are smaller, then you would have player 2 and 3 guarding these big areas, and then player 1 essentially guarding the top, the point. Now, if they were guarding wider like this, then you would have player 3 and 2 guarding here and player 1 guarding up top, and it looks pretty simple and easy that way. Usually, younger coaches will run it that secondary way. So by spreading out, having a 5-out, you literally try to paint the corners, paint the sides, paint the lines, get out towards the sides. That way, if it's an undisciplined team, they are going to start really spreading out. And that now opens up your key. And why is that important? Well, if you've got any one of these players who are faster than the defender who is guarding them, you can get into that key quite well. And what are some of the mismatches that we actually currently see right now? Well, we've got big players being guarded by small players here, and then we have small players being guarded by slower, bigger players down here. So what we can do is now say, instead of doing a simple pass and screen away, or a pass and screen 4, or a pass and screen away. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, definitely go check out my 5-out book down in the description below. It basically gives you the complete guide, the different types of screens and plays that you can run with the 5-out. And then I explain how you can actually intermingle all those different plays into one. It's just absolutely fantastic. I love the 5-out. Definitely go check that book out. But let's get back down and check out why a 5-out is really good against a zone. So we really want to get these players who are in mismatches the basketball. Of course, we don't want to get the bigs mismatched with the smaller guys unless they're really good shooters, then it's harder to block. But what we really want to do here is to try and get the ball into the corners, and there's a really good reason for that. So there are times where we will see, if the ball does get into the corner, some coaches will actually instruct their players to then double team the corners. Well, now that's even better for us, and I'll explain that in a bit. But really quickly, let's get back to the way they were. We get that pass over to player 5. That's the number 1 option. That's the first shot of getting this. The other option is how I would like to do it, which is just a simple screen by player 5. Now we're even in a bigger mismatch. And of course, now player 1 is over in this side. And of course, player 5 is not going to be out that far. He's going to be out roughly 1 pass away, which is 1 big step. Now, for player 2 to get open, it's really quick. A quick jab, and then 1 to 2 steps out this way, you should be able to get that ball into player 2. Now, if there is no double team coming down from player 2, red, what we're going to be seeing is player 2 should be able to get player 5 off the dribble towards the basket. He should be able to take that one-on-one quite easily. And if he does, if he's able to get past player 5, what's going to happen is player 2 is going to collapse to try and stop him. He's especially going to collapse if player 2 drives left on him, which is down the middle of the key. If that's the case, then player 2 is going to be collapsing. This could be a kick out for a 3. If he gets past those 2 players and he still has the ball, we're going to be then bringing in player 5 because, of course, he would be here. He needs to step in and take that charge. But before that happens, you can set a hammer pass out to player 3. You can just do a regular kick out pass to player 3, and that could be an open 3-point shot for him. The other option is player 3 may be smart and sees that player 4 is now coming over to try and take that charge and cuts baseline, and now we have an easy layup. These are all super simple plays that we can run out of a 5-out that many coaches just underestimate, just don't even think of, really. So now if we really rewind quickly and we're back to having the ball up here, having that single man coverage and having player 5 one pass away. Player 2 does that quick cut and we get player 2 that ball. If this team was instructed to do a double team in this corner, which a lot of teams are, it's called a 3-2 trap half-court defense. And if they are instructed to do a trap in this corner, we can absolutely demolish them because now we have 2 players on a small player, especially if this is a high school team that we're playing on or against. Then we can absolutely destroy them because we have 2 bigs who are really only going to be able to be defended by 1 possible big. So this is especially good if you've got bigger, taller players who can actually shoot a 3. I know that's rare, so don't worry. Now what can happen is player 5 cuts down towards, from the paint down towards that low post. Now one of 3 things can happen. It's magical. We either have player 2 passing to player 5 for an easy layup or a dunk. We can have player 2 pass to player 5. Player 4 pops in, kick out for a 3 or a possible backdoor cut for a layup. And then what's even better is we could even have player 3 being smart and screening for player 3 and really have the open side for player 4. That is another option I just thought of. But we could even have player 5 get that ball, collapse player 1 because maybe he's just not paying attention and they just really don't want player 5 to score. Possibly it could be like James Wiseman from the Golden State Warriors, who is just an absolute beast down there and they just do not want him to score, one or the other. Then he could kick out to player 1 for a 3. This is absolutely magical. And of course, the same things can apply. We could have player 3 screening and then another kick down pass or even a high cut, whatever it may be. There's so many different options that we can explain to our players for them to really do. And of course, with the 5-out, it's called read and react. So we need to know some of the basics when it comes to the 5-out, and then we can just work on it. Try to find the open area of the court, screen for others, screen for your teammates who have the ball, who don't have the ball, and you can really just basically give your team just the basics, like screen away, screen for, screen, just cut towards the rim, and then maybe screen for the secondary player away, do a Princeton cut or whatever type of cut you would feel like, and of course, or a UCLA cut, I should have said, that really froze my mind. But of course, you really want to think on the fly and have your team really be able to do that. I hope that you have enjoyed today's video. If you have, hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you guys again next time.